So today I thought we'd do another Billy Joel video, seeing of his health diagnosis last week and having to cancel a bunch of his tour dates for the upcoming year or so. So I thought we'd do another song breakdown. It's been quite some time since I've done one, and really I think I've only done one. I did Bruce Springsteen's Born on the Run a couple months ago. I wound up settling on Vienna from his 1978 album, The Stranger, which I have the original sheet music book here that is currently falling apart slightly, and may or may not be 100% accurate. But it's from his 1978 album, The Stranger. Fantastic album. If you've never listened to it, you should go ahead and do it. It's one of those albums that is classic and no skips, I don't think. I think every song on there is fantastic, from start to beginning, or from beginning to end. There we go. So that piano intro is just beautiful. I would imagine it's probably a Steinway of some sort that Billy's playing, an expensive one, mic with some very expensive mics. Let's listen to the sold vocal, kind of. I say kind of because there's some other things in here, but...
Slow down, you crazy child. You're so ambitious for a juvenile. But then if you're so smart, well, tell me, why are you still so afraid? Where's the fire? What's the hurry about? You better cool it off before you burn it out. You got so much to do and only so many hours in a day. Hey.
So what else is there to say? It's a beautiful vocal, and in a way I kind of imagine that's what the headphone mix probably sounded like on a random engineer-producer note. But anyways, beautiful vocal, and you can kind of hear there's also some bass in there. Doug Stegmeyer really kind of holds the line down here for this song, just does some great bass parts that are simple but elegant, I guess you could say. The sliding that he does from note to note kind of just adds a little bit more to the song. You know, this is one of those songs that you do not want to overplay, and he plays it perfectly, I think. Same thing with Liberty DeVito on the drums. Perfect, you know. Very simple at the beginning here with just kick. He's doing rim clicks as well, and some ride cymbal, you know. And he's not playing it hard at all, you know. Very much in the background. It's really just more of a piano song right now. It will move into a little bit heavier of a song in a little bit, but still not a lot. So in verse 2, we've got this synth that comes in, as well as some acoustic guitars and some toms. Which is beautiful instrumentation. So, I mean, with that, we got this synth that comes in, and kind of a weird thing to have a synth kind of doing this sort of stuff back in 1977. It was sort of kind of like a novelty instrument at this point. People weren't really using it for pads too much. That really hadn't caught on a lot yet. It was still a little bit early. It was certainly not the dominating instrument it would later become in the 80s in a couple of years at this point. And there wasn't a lot of choices. It was really just the Moog, the ARP, which is probably what this was as an ARP. It's definitely not a Moog, given the sound. And there was a couple other ones floating around, but there just wasn't a lot of choices. And I was wondering too, you know, a thought crossed my mind, there's another instrument that comes up later, but for the synth, I'm just curious why they chose a synth in the studio and not a Hammond organ. You know, Billy Joel's a great organ player, and they also had Richie Cannata, which handled the organ during most of the live performances and in the studio at this time, most of the times as well. So I'm just curious as to why they chose a synth instead, because it's a different little thing. And here it's doing some staccato things more so, but it will move on and later do some more generalized pad performances once this chorus bridge kind of thing kind of hits. Also, the acoustic guitars, fantastic. Here's our little bridge part coming up here. Everything hits. Nothing too crazy going on here. I want to know what possessed them with the synth, but this accordion as well, to put that in the song, especially the accordion. The synth is, not that crazy, but an accordion, it fits very well with the vibe of this song, given the subject matter of, the song, which we don't need to necessarily go over, and the feel of that piano riff from earlier, which is very kind of sort of Baroque, middle Europe kind of, Middle Ages kind of thing going on. So this kind of reminds me of Europe, I think, having the accordion in there. Still kind of odd, though. Can't really name you another 70s song that had an accordion in it like this, even as a ballad. If you can think of one, let me know. So kind of an odd choice. And Billy Joel can play accordion a little bit, but they hired somebody to do this because I don't know if he can play it this well. He has to use a modified one, and he hasn't strapped one on in quite some time, from what I can remember. So this is an actual accordion player. The name escapes me at this point, but fantastic, and just really, I mean, that's completely out of left field. You would never see that coming, would you?
And you know that when the truth is told, that you can get what you want, or you can just get old. You're gonna kick off before you even get halfway through. Ooh, why don't you realize Vienna waits for you? When will you realize Vienna waits for you?
So this song starts off with this really neat piano intro that's kind of very evocative of something like from the Middle Ages of Central Europe almost, which is kind of appropriate given the backstory of how the song was created. I'm not going to really go into that. There's plenty over the internet, what the song's really about and all that. But anyways, the song's in the key of kind of B flat, though it kind of uses some chords that are not in the key technically and does some modal stuff that's going on here. But it starts off this intro that goes something like this. The left hand's doing some more crossover things that I'm not doing, but generally the right hand is correct. So. And then after that, it kind of goes into this little ascending and descending chordal changes, which is kind of cool. So it starts off with this G minor, then goes to B flat, then F, A flat, E flat, B flat, C. Then it does this interesting chord here. We got D9 sus to a regular D chord. Now, on its face, the D9 sus really isn't that hard to play, but it adds this kind of cool thing just for a second because he only hits it once, then goes into D chord. So it's just a single B chord. But he's doing double D octaves in his left hand on the bass. And then in the right hand, he's got the notes E, G, and C, That's all it is, It's kind of equivalent to doing a little, like, hammer-on sus chord on a guitar, almost, in a way. But it's very pleasing to the ear, I think. Then we're back into the next verse. Now for this next part, I could best describe it as kind of like the chorus, but it's also kind of like a bridge in a way. But that's besides the point. We start on E flat, we go to F, then we go to B flat, but it does a descending thing here. little walk down going from B flat, A, G minor, or G to F over the chords that it's playing over. So back to E flat, A minor 7, D7, then G minor 7, then do our C part. Then it has this very interesting part where it's technically a G flat 9 chord, given the other instruments that play that chord at the same time. But the piano part, when it hits this downbeat, is really only playing 2 or 3 notes. It's kind of hard to tell. But at any rate, the chord is G sharp, C sharp, A sharp, and E. So all together, that would sound something like this. You know? So kind of an interesting chord, slightly jazzy. So it does this chord, then it goes to F7, which is sort of a walk down, except it goes up, so it's a walk up. Instead of being on G sharp and A sharp, we resolve down and we go to A and C. So it's kind of a nice little chromatic thing going on there. So that would look something like this, you know. Then we're back to B flat to the top. The rest of the song is kind of, you know, similar playing to that. There's not really any new parts in it. The ending is slightly different because it goes back into the riff from the beginning, but it does kind of just resolve to a big B flat chord at the end. But that's pretty much it to the song. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a comment. It'd be greatly appreciated. I always like making these videos. They take a little bit longer to make and edit and all that, so I don't do them as much as I would like to. But let me know if you want to hear any more Billy Joel song breakdowns, as well as you know, any other artists from the 60s to the 80s. I might have them, and even if I don't, I could still do a video on them, of course. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.